Hi everybody. Today I'd like to put together a video for the Markets in Action paper. That's paper F581. So this would be appropriate for people in year 12 who are doing the AS paper for the first time, or people in year 13 who are possibly resitting this particular paper. And in the same way as I looked at F582, I just want to go through the 581 papers, look at what's been on the previous 3 sessions, and then have a look at the likely, or certainly more likely, topic areas for this year's exam. Now, of course, this is by no means an exact science. I didn't write the paper, and I don't have a crystal ball, so we're just making an educated guess here as to what might be on the paper. Do not abandon the rest of the specification only to learn what we discuss here today. You need to learn everything on the specification, but perhaps spend a little bit longer on the areas we're going to talk about later. So, in front of you, you can see the F581 January 2013, and we've got a brief summary of the questions that were asked in that particular session. So, the first question was with regard to the BEP, the break-even, sorry, not the break-even point, the basic economic problem, and how best to apply the basic economic problem. So there was a 2-mark question, I think, on that. Then we had some questions on opportunity cost to define and give examples of. Next question was with regard to the various factors which influence levels of demand in the economy, and the particular application on this paper was on the demand for housing. Then we had 1 or 2 questions on demand and supply, and you had to draw and annotate a demand and supply diagram, shifting demand and supply curves. This has become more and more frequent, more and more common, and you therefore need to anticipate that in the coming session. We then had 1 or 2 questions on price elasticity of supply, quite unusually really, with regard to its measurement and subsequent application. And then there were 1 or 2 questions on the positive and negative externalities. The big heavyweight question on this one, the discussion question for 18 marks, was with regard to subsidies. Then moving on, in the summer of 2013, we had a few questions to start with on the factors of production, the FOPs. This time, rather than factors which influence demand, it was factors which influence supply, and that was applied to air travel. Again, as has become common, demand and supply analysis. And we then had a consumer surplus question, and a diagram had to be drawn. Now, just note well, please, if this should come up again, you must make sure that it is very clear, number 1, where the area of consumer surplus gain or loss is, depending on the question, and you must label the demand curve clearly. This particular paper, that was a 4-mark question, and candidates who didn't actually label the demand curve with a D or with the word demand, in spite of the fact that the rest of the diagram might have been correct, they got 0 marks, so you must be very careful there. The next set of questions was on YED, so that's income elasticity of demand and its application. That followed a question on allocative efficiency and its application. Now, it was sufficient in that paper to just say allocative efficiency, P equals MC, price equals marginal cost. No need for a lengthy, wordy definition, although that was quite acceptable should that be your preference. It was quite badly done, that question, actually, so maybe anticipate something like that again. Then we had a question on information failure, and the discussion question on this one was with regard to regulation. So in those 2 sessions we covered subsidies and also regulation. Then if we move to the May 2014 set of questions, we had a set of questions on opportunity cost. Again, that was a simple define question. We had a set of questions on the FOPs, the factors of production, And we also had a set of questions on specialization. Now, once again, there was a series of questions on demand and supply analysis, where you had to draw and annotate a demand and supply diagram. So that's 3 sessions in a row that particular questions come up. The next set of questions were on the determinants of demand. So in Jan 13 it was the determinants of demand, in May 13 it was the determinants of supply, and in May 2014 it was the determinants of demand. Should that pattern continue, we'd obviously therefore anticipate that the subsequent questions would be on the determinants of supply for May 2015. In terms of elasticity, the questions were on income elasticity of demand and price elasticity of demand. And that was both in terms of calculations but also their applications. And then the externalities focused on negative externalities and whether or not China ought to try to reduce those. The heavyweight question in this instance was with regard to indirect taxes and how effective indirect taxes are when it comes to correcting market failure. So if we look back there, we've had a discussion question on subsidies, a discussion question on regulation, and a discussion question on indirect taxes. So what I'm going to do is now just put in front of you the areas which might be likely topic areas for the May 2015 exam. So here we have my best guesstimates as to what might appear in May 2015, the summer of 2015. Going through the specification, these are the areas which have not been assessed in the previous 3 sessions, and so these are the areas which you may wish to prepare that little bit extra for. First of all, describing the basic economic problem. Simple. Secondly, explain how markets allocate scarce resources. Obviously, you'd want to be referring to demand and supply, market forces, etc. We said previously that we've had a little bit of a pattern in terms of supply, demand, determinants of. So if the pattern follows, it ought to be on supply this year. And it would be a nice way to tie in some questions on producer surplus, because that ties in nicely obviously with supply. So maybe anticipate some questions in that area. We can see from the previous 3 sessions that we've had elasticity questions on elasticity of supply, price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, but nothing so far on XED, cross price elasticity of demand. Maybe that's something to prepare for and to anticipate, and the application of cross price elasticity of demand. A straightforward question such as simply explain what's meant by market failure has never really occurred, where we get into some type of discussion about the divergence between private costs and social costs. Merit goods and demerit goods have never been assessed recently, and neither has public goods really. So again, those are some areas that you might wish to focus a little bit more attention. When it comes to the big question, the heavyweight, the 18 marker, where we all need to be getting level 4 here, if you look on the specification, the things which you can be asked to discuss are subsidies, regulation, tradable pollution permits, and the provision of information. So if we look back at what we've had previously, we've had, let me remember, so we've had indirect taxes, we have had subsidies, and we have had regulation. So maybe it might be worth putting that little bit extra time into your working knowledge of tradable pollution permits and information provision. In all of those essays, if you look back through the mark schemes, it's always acceptable at level 4. Certainly if the question is something like, discuss whether a subsidy is the best method of doing X, Y, or Z, it's always been acceptable to analyse a subsidy up to level 3, put the case for it and the case against it in level 4, and then also in level 4 discuss by means of comparison how other policies might be better. So I think that about sums it up really. So that's it for May 2015, and those are some potential areas which you may wish to just look into that in that little bit extra detail.